Well, welcome ITech. I know this has been a long time coming, and I am so excited to finally have the opportunity to sit down with you all this afternoon. I'd like each of you to maybe introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about how you came to be involved in, computer technology or ed tech. And we'll start with Evelyn, if that's okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Shauna and Kevin for having our whole team on. I'm Evelyn McCulloch, and I'm the Director of Educational Technology. This is my amazing team, and we are from ITech, which is a managed services technology company based out of Orlando, but now throughout Florida. And Trish is even joining us from South Florida. And I joined the team after about 15 years in the classroom and as an administrator, working at the International School of Beijing and then in Orlando. And then got to know Shauna and Kevin at the Green School through iTech's partnership with the school. So we're so excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Evelyn. Let's pop over to Michael.
Hey, so Evelyn is my boss. She pulled me into this awesome work about a year and a half ago out of a public school system. So I was teaching with Brian actually at a project-based learning academy, and that was kind of how I got into the tech side of things. Is just doing cool projects and kids wanted to do stuff with VR and all kinds of different things like that, and I had no idea what I was doing, so I just kind of jumped in with both feet and and just kind of like learned on the fly and built it as I went. So here we are.
Fantastic. All right, let's go to Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say much more than what Mike had just said. Same thing, just I've been in education like 22 years, started in Las Vegas and migrated here to Florida. I've been with iTech now for almost a year. How about that? Super excited, but getting to work with Mike and Trish and Evelyn's great, and then just diving in deep into all the technology services that we provide and that are available for educators is just a really awesome experience. So
Fantastic. And last, of course, but not least, is Trish Everett.
This is great. This is actually the order in which we all joined iTech. So conveniently,
on the screen for us, which is like
right. So I'm the newest arrival. My name's Trish Everett. I'm in South Florida. I have been teaching for about 17 years, and up until about June, I was in the classroom teaching AP Government and Psychology and whatever else I came across. And now I'm excited. I get the opportunity to work with these amazing folks and hopefully be some of the support that I wish I had had early in my teaching career as well. And really, I came to ed tech generally out of necessity, finding whatever creative tap dancing was necessary to keep the kids engaged, and sometimes that's shiny flashy technology, and sometimes it's markers and post-it notes. So finding whatever is the best fit for particular situations.
Well, you mentioned ed tech. So Evelyn, let's start off by explaining for our listeners really what ed tech is. And I would imagine it became pretty prevalent after COVID.
Right. What's your mission and who are your clients?
Oh, both great questions. Wow, ed tech is a pretty broad term, and that's what's fun about it. For us, it really means deep pedagogy that's supported with technology tools. So our group especially is very, very much into project-based learning. That's a lot of our backgrounds, and we really believe that's just the best way that students learn. And so with that can be a lot of awesome educational technology. So that could be the devices that are set up in the classroom so students can connect and collaborate. That could be the different softwares and websites that they're using to connect with community partners or to research or to use artificial intelligence to help and support their projects. So it's fun for us because schools, we love to work with them in the capacity of an ed tech partnership. So that allows us to go really deeply with coaching and professional development, and then just help them wherever they are in their journey. So if they're newer to implementing educational technology or they've been doing it for many years or especially fell in love with it during the pandemic, we want to help them in that journey. And that's what's fun is we are really high touch. So we're in our schools every day with appointments with teachers and administrators and so much more. And so this team here makes it all happen. Plus, we have a whole IT team backing us that really does like the networks and phones and integrations that really are the behind the scenes things that allow the teachers in the classroom to make magic and collaborate with their students. So I love that you asked that question, and there's so much behind what is EdTech.
Right. I have a quick question. The size of your territory, right? I worked in industry before education, so I understand territories. Is there a physical footprint that, these are my cities or my zip codes, or are you working at the state level? Would you say you're more regional, maybe Orlando and South Florida, or how would you describe your territory? And how much has it grown recently? Because when I met you, I don't remember you having a staff, and now there's quite a few. So
Yes,
I feel like
that's the
something
best
must be
part.
going well, right?
That's a great question, Kevin. And yes, that's the best part is we get to do it as a team. And this team I'm constantly learning from. Mike, do you want to describe a little bit how we're high touch in Florida?
Yeah. So I mean, our territory, I would say, is Florida. Although very recently we did a virtual AI workshop for a high school in Georgia, in the Atlanta, Georgia area. But as far as the schools that we service, it's Florida. And it definitely started. ITech is based out of Orlando, so it started kind of like I-4 corridor that way. Part of the reason that I came along was they have some schools in the Volusia area over by the coast. And just that they were getting more and more schools in the Orlando area. And then we've done some special projects for some schools in Jacksonville area.
Okay.
We've got a couple schools in Tampa, and we have schools in Miami, and that was what facilitated the need for Trish and some of the her awesome skill set down there. And so we're expanding. I mean, we've got I think three schools so far this year. This calendar year that have signed on for like services for us, and then all the ones that we already have, and then the special projects and workshops and things that we do. So, yeah.
Right. Let's go into the murky water already. Now, Sean and I are involved with numerous organizations in the state and in leadership roles, for instance, like with the science teachers, FAST, with FLAG, with Gifted. So we meet teachers from all over the state. There is a lot of difference in what Trish sees probably in Miami and what I'm thinking is the panhandle of Florida, from a cultural, from a political sort of, how different is it, say, for Trish in Miami versus maybe whatever you've got going on out in Panama City or, out towards Mobile? Is there a big difference that you see? Because our state is so, heterogeneous from your perspective in dealing with school districts or schools.
Yeah, I'll just jump in immediately and say yes. I mean, I think there definitely is, and we talk about it a lot, like the culture of what things look like, expectations of parents, the pressures, just all of those little things, and then the size of our schools too. Some of them are very large private schools, and then some of them are 100 students, something like that, like very small. So we kind of run the gamut too in all ways. I think the strength here is that Trish taught up this way for a number of years, and then taught at Pinecrest down in South Florida. So like you've got people that have got their finger on the pulse there. Brian actually did some teaching at one of our schools for a while to help them out. So he's got that there. Evelyn taught at a private school in Orlando for a number of years. Brian and I come from the public school sector at a Title I school, and then so I think like we bring a number of different backgrounds, and I think that really helps us understand our clientele. Or if we do run into something, if it's like a large school kind of thing, I know I can reach out to Trish and be like, hey, help me wrap my head around this, because I'm just not, I don't get this culturally, whatever, something like that.
I think we also part of the high touch model that we employ constantly means that when we first start a partnership with a school, the first thing we do is show up and listen. We show up and hopefully do an assessment. And some of that is the strength of their network security and tech hardware and software, but some of it is also what's the culture of the school, what are your current points of pride, what are your current pain points. And when we start a partnership, we don't tie it to a single like billing cycle or annual renewal. We see ourselves as being a part of each institution's own desire for growth. Where do you guys want to see yourselves be? Even if
Right.
you're already amazing, how can we help you be amazinger in the way you want to?
So that makes me think I've heard that our experiences from both the public and the private sector. I'm assuming that this is kind of a two-pronged question, and anyone can pick it up. I'm assuming that there are other companies like ITech that are servicing communities, but so how you're differentiating would be kind of like where I'm going there. But additionally, is it something that you're also working with the public schools, or are you only relegated to the private schools as far as the service area?
Yeah, that's a great question. What's really unique about our model is because it started as a IT company, our ed tech team formed about 3.5 years ago. So we haven't really come across any other companies that have really strong sides of both the IT and ed tech and kind of harmonize together to serve a school. We haven't found that yet. So we're kind of our own, like, because we don't necessarily have competitors, we really seek out that like our model is personalized in every school and we're driven to
You're more like consultants then, right? Like instead of me
yes.
hiring an IT guy or girl for my school, I
Yes.
would partner with you to collaborate and you bring the added benefits of this. Okay, that makes good sense.
So, and let me, in addition to that, does this mean, based on what you said, there aren't a lot of direct competitors that can fit your niche right now, at least? Obviously, the more successful you are, the more likely there will be copycats. And coming from industry and having territories, and you're always looking at, who are your competition, but if you had to sum up, how do you establish value for your clients such that you become so important that they can't live without you? Because isn't that what you really want, right? Customers that can't live without you. So how do you, what about, ed tech makes you guys, so valuable to your clients?
I think I'm going to take this one. I think at the heart of what we do, and you said yourself, you're an educator or prior educator. I think at the heart of what we do, we're still educators in our fields, even though I was in the classroom for 22 years, Mike 15 years, Trish 15 years, Evelyn many years. Like that heartbeat for that piece of what we do doesn't change. And so I think it's a real gimmick thing if you're a salesperson coming in with a widget, you know what I mean, to come in and like, hey, buy my product. But when we're actually like, no, we know we've wiped noses, we've listened to kids, and we've talked to parents, and we want to fulfill the mission of a school in that way. And then just now with the tools that are available, we can enhance learning for our kids. And so I think when we go into a school, that's our view, is really like looking at like, if I was to teach here, or if I was to work here or be an administrator or walk the halls, or if my child was going to walk in these halls, what would I want that experience to look like? And sometimes it's, I wouldn't change a whole lot, but there's other things that we can do to make it better for the school and for everybody's experience. So
yeah.
And I think Brian pointed out to all of us, we have all struggled with trying to explain and encompass exactly what it is we do in kind of an elevator pitch. And I think all of us had at some point said like, oh, well, I was a teacher until I joined ITech. And Brian, you were the one who started correcting us and saying like, we're still educators. We're in a different sphere.
You're just teaching different clientele, right? Like I imagine, and I'm one of those folks who's, the older I get, the more I realize that I'm talking about the older people, and that's me. But, I would imagine that some of the older teachers struggle a little bit more with some of the technology. And at the same time might even be reluctant to bring it into the classroom because it is so unfamiliar. So I know that we do things like grades and we have like learning management systems, but it sounds like you're also able to advise in ways that they can use tech to bring these projects into the classroom. Would anyone care to share a little bit about some of the maybe some of the ways that you've been able to help some of those teachers in that capacity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like it's an interesting thing is that it's not always the older teachers, which is cool. We've got some teachers. I'm thinking of one of our schools that we were just at yesterday that she'll just randomly email me and it's kind of like, hey, I want to do this really cool thing with VR. Hey, and she retired once and already came back, like retired, couldn't stay away and came back. And it's just like all the time. It's like, I want to make like digital, video games. I want to make like Minecraft stuff. I want to do, VR. I want to do this. So she just kind of has like a, why not attitude to it. We have another teacher at one of our schools that is in her 60s that is a second year teacher. She just started teaching in her 60s. And she does probably more PBL type things than anybody else that we know. Because again, she didn't have any of the preconceived kind of stuff coming in. It's just like, let's go. But no, we do a lot of stuff for helping them. And it's, I think like when it comes to the tech side, our values are, it's got to help. It can't be gimmicky, right? It's got to help, and it's got to make your lessons and your life easier and more engaging. So sometimes we come in and we go, you're trying to do too much. There's too much tech. Have you tried using sticky notes for this? Sometimes it's less tech, right? Because sometimes you just go sometimes the simplest thing is the easiest way to go. But then sometimes it's well, yeah, let's do this crazy thing and scan stuff and make big QR codes and do whatever. And then we'll help with that. And like Brian and Trish were saying, we like to be the support to make them comfortable for that. So when they go, oh, that sounds really cool, that idea, but I don't know, we get to go, well, we can do that for you. Like we'll handle that part. We'll hand hold you through that. We'll model it. We actually go into classrooms and teach. I'm going to go in next week and teach completely unrelated to ed tech. I'm going to teach kids about sonnets and Shakespeare and Shakespearean sonnets and how they're formatted and stuff. So sometimes it's just, if that's an expertise we have, we can come in and we can model that and co-teach and co-facilitate with you.
Right. Well, I actually made a note about you guys, the seniority. There's no, it's obvious that the experiences you had in their classroom is actually one of your strengths, right, of your company. But also I see a little parallel between what we try to do and what you're doing, which is you have this cohesive, you build small teams, right? It's like small team with a high esprit de corps and really competent in what they do. Now that leads me to my next question is, how do you find new clients, or how do you identify new schools? Is it only word of mouth, or do you have some sort of dedicated sort of marketing effort? I mean, we're in the high-tech era here. So I'm curious, how do you find new people that can't live without you?
That's just such a great question. You ask the best questions, both of you. We love finding what we call good matches. We want it to be just a mutual relationship where the school is a great fit for us and we're a great fit for them. One of our sweet spots has been the Florida Council of Independent Schools, FCIS. Okay. And the Green School is an FCIS school. And from the launching of the ed tech team 3.5 years ago, we really thought to find schools within FCIS that would be great matches. They're innovative, they're well-resourced, their cultures are strong and healthy, and they really want to grow, and they're used to that process through accreditation. And so those have been the primary schools that we've really been matched with. And we like to meet our schools at events. So whether that's the Orlando Learning Summit that we hold in the summer and invite schools to, or happy hours or lunch and learns, we find that's really where we can have just a great, authentic conversation with them. And so if we kind of look at the stories of how each of our schools met us and we met them and kind of came into this relationship, it often starts at an event where we got to meet them. So we'll be at FCIS next week, and we're hoping to even meet some new schools and make some great matches where we can just really go far in our relationship together.
Okay. Well, one thing I'll throw out is the National Association for Gifted. The NAGC conference is in Orlando in November. Are you guys attending?
No, but we'll look it
Gone.
up, and yeah, that'd be awesome.
And the reason I say that is we're FLAG, Florida Association for the Gifted, and we are actually recruiting volunteers. And if you're a volunteer, you get sort of a free pass. And if you don't want to pay the exorbitant price to attend, perhaps you guys might volunteer, and you know, you always walk around with a handful of business cards, right? We always teach our kids something to write on, something to write with, carry your business cards. But that's an option. We can share that offline, but NAGC is early, November 9, I think, starting about November 9th. Next year, when we have our Florida Association for the Gifted annual conference, we know we'd like to have EdTech maybe come and be a part of that conference as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Fabulous, yeah.
I'm going to pivot slightly now from the teacher aspect to the student aspect. And obviously that's an area that you'll all have some experience in. Why is ed tech so important for project-based learning? And why is that better for our students overall? Particularly, I mean, obviously we work with gifted, we work with twice exceptional students, but I think for all students.
Ooh, can I jump in real quick? Sorry. I'm thinking about, so one of the things that we've really dove deep into in the past year is artificial intelligence. Brian and I specifically have, we're like racing each other to get as many certificates as we can, as we can for AI. I think that in and of itself is kind of the answer, is that AI is big. AI is getting bigger. All the things that we're seeing right now, it's the dumbest the systems are ever going to be. So we need to learn how to pivot and respond to that, and, you know, and adapt appropriately. And when all of these concerns come up about cheating and using it to write essays and all of these other things, like which is, you know, one of the things that we hear over and over and over again, the biggest thing is, what does our pedagogical approach look like, and what are we asking students to do? And I think if we're asking them to just do worksheets and answer questions that are like based on rote memorization, then yeah, we should be really scared of AI as educators. But if we're asking them to do project-based things that are performance-based, and they're building and solving problems, and, you know, things that are high interest and that they have to show mastery of in like some unique way, then I think you look at AI and you go, you're either not thinking about it, or you're just thinking about it of like, this is a really cool way to maybe streamline some of the processes, and that's about it. So I think that's like, from my side, that's like one of the big answers to that question there.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thinking from a student standpoint, is like, you know, I always say this is like, as a teacher, you know, you gain a year every year, but the student is the same age, but what they're doing is different, right? The 14-year-old last year and what the 14-year-old this year are into, what they're accessing, what's available, you know what I mean? It's different. So I think, you know, as educators, you got to grow with that, and kind of lean into what they're into. I mean, there was a time where, you know, TikTok was huge, and so some teachers were like, let's make TikToks, you know what I mean? Just to, you know, get some value out of that. You're getting some, you know, some good equity there with your kids, you know, in the classroom. So
that's a really good point. I can't imagine how bad I actually was when I started, because I was a biochemist, but not a formally trained educator. I relied on all the stuff the Army taught me, right? For how I used to run my class. I feel like I'm doing better every year, but I feel bad a little bit for those early kids that had to weather the storm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm a chemistry guy, so you know, we're on the same team, man.
Yes. You know, God bless stoichiometry. It separates us from the savages.
See, I got excited about the sonnets. I was like, yes, I am, big pentameter.
There you go.
I'm just going to throw it out to you guys for $25 this weekend. We have Frank Sobozinski that's doing a workshop at our conference. He does machine learning. He was part of IBM quantum computing, and he's actually going to give us a board. We're going to do machine learning on one of our next satellites, and he's a professor at King's College in London. And I'll be glad to introduce you guys to him if you want to meet him. He's one of the nicest.
I think I just drooled a little bit. Like that's
he's one of the nicest humans you will ever meet. Frank Sobozinski. He works with NASA Ames.
We did a podcast with him recently.
Yes, he's just a great guy, and he's in London right now. But he got his PhD somewhere in Germany for the Center for Quantum Learning or Machine Learning. But I know very little, except I know some that's a very hot field right now.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
think anybody's going to go broke if they go into artificial intelligence and machine learning.
for a while.
We
Yeah.
we felt so strong about it. We made a website for our schools. You know what I mean? So it was
Yes.
like that big of a deal for us. So
Yeah.
again, just another layer of support that we can give our schools.
Sure.
I think it's
Yeah.
one of the areas like even I need support in, right? So that's where I imagine I need to be reaching out to you all more because I mean, obviously you're way more than just our RenWeb people now. I'm going, I want to know how to do my searches better when I am trying to come up with some generating some ideas for topics or whatever. And I'm so bad at it. And yet I realize that the future, you know, what we're talking about career wise is really going to be less about who's able to do something specific versus who's able to put in the appropriate prompt.
Right.
Is that accurate?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
100.
I think it's gonna, I mean, not to oversell AI, but I mean, I've heard some of the like bigger people talk about it as on par or bigger than the Industrial Revolution. So that's a bold statement to make. Either way, whether it becomes like to fruition, if it gets anywhere near that, if we know our history, then that's like a very bold statement to make.
Right.
I think it's going to completely change the way jobs look. Like whether or not it like gets rid of or creates a lot of jobs, I think it's going to change the way jobs are done and how they look. And yeah, a lot of it is going to be people are going to be responsible for multiple facets of what they do rather than like one, you know, sluice of something. And a lot of that is going to be it's input equals output. So yeah, a lot of it's going to be based on how well can you prompt and what does that look like to get
imagine
that
it'll
right.
change even like the workday in general, probably not the 40 hours that we're used to, the old traditional model of going to work. I mean, imagine it'll be more from your home and hours.
I think productivity.
Let Trish finish.
And I would hope part of what we're able to provide to our teachers, I mean, we said, you know, we want to be the support we wish we had, but the support new teachers starting now need is going to look entirely different from what we all needed a couple decades ago.
Fact.
So the part of what I love that we've put together with that website of AI for schools is filtering down, you know, a teacher who's curious about this, wants to use it well, says like, it's great, but it's the Wild West. Like there's a bajillion new websites with AI.
Right.
And so we get to be, I call us the good news fairies. We get to show up and say like, hey, we did the legwork of whittling down a list of the really good ones, or what thing are you trying to do better? And here's 3 that we suggest would be really helpful. So that's going to be the future of support.
Yeah, well said.
Absolutely. I'm going to share briefly I have a group of kids. They want to enter a competition that they don't have experience for. They want to be competitive. It's a worldwide competition. So what we did is we took a parameter of the competition. We said, okay, we want to be in that division. We used the ChatGPT to give us like 250 ideas, and the learning came in sorting them and culling the list, right? And I thought that was one of because these guys are not creative enough. They don't know the cutting edge of anything, right? Because they're young, they're 11, right? But they have a desire to learn. And this tool made them so much more efficient, right? It really did, I think, ramp up the learning for this young, you know, like a small team that wants to work hard and do well together. I look at it just like a tool. They're going to look a lot smarter than maybe they are because they know how to use tools. And luckily those tools are pretty free right now, at least some of them.
Teaching them how to use
for now.
For now.
Safe, and that is also like not I guess the wrong way to use the tool.
I'm actually surprised at how poorly children in general know how, you know, when they ask you a question and you say they don't know how to actually form the right question on even a Google
search
tool to provide them easily what they need. I'm always surprised at how smart they are and how little they know how tech works.
That's true, I think, for adults as well. And that's kind of, I mean, really, that's why we do need folks like you. And I know that we are coming kind of to the end of this, and we obviously could keep on for some time. But before I get to my final question, which I'm going to ask you to kind of share a little bit about how teachers can find you, I want to be able to share your website. So make sure you send that to me if that's okay, if it's open to the community for the AI. But I'm wondering if a person's listening and they're going, man, I don't have this at my school. How can I either find some way to get this background, or if I am a teacher and I want to do the same kind of thing, make a move to ed tech where I can start teaching teachers, how do they find out about you, or how do they find out about these opportunities?
Oh, great question. Our main website is i-techsupport.com. And then our AI website is linked right under educational technology, our AI for Schools website. But we're always looking both on our IT side and on our ed tech side, because one of our greatest assets is our team and our company and kind of the mindset of service for schools. So that's a great way to get in touch with us. And we're also very active on LinkedIn, and we started a new Instagram, as well as Twitter and Facebook. So we have 4 platforms. And then a great place to also just meet us for the first time is at our Orlando Learning Summit. And then we're actually planning to create a Miami Learning Summit, hopefully in the spring, like a one-day launching opportunity to just meet and serve more educators in South Florida. So we'll have some more information on that soon too.
I misunderstood. You're not participating in that event. It is your event, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We typically partner with one of our partner schools. So in Orlando, it's the First Academy, and then Miami is in the work. So we're excited.
Thank you.
That is exciting. Well, then, normally we have our last question to be some form of advice, maybe, from like for our students who are listening or for teachers. And I think what I'd like to kind of end this with is, what kind of person, what are the traits that we would have that we need to embrace ed tech? So like if someone who's looking to add more to their classroom or looking to kind of go that route, what are the types of people who make the kinds of teachers, I suppose, that work well?
I'll go first. I think you got to go with, I think in education for the longest time, you've had a lot of people in there with a lot of, a why attitude, but like more of a why should I do that? Why would I do that attitude, when you really should be in the why not. And so if I go why not, and if I'm not afraid to fail because I have a great support system, that if I fall, I'm not going to fall very far because they're holding me up and they'll help lift me up. But if I say why not and I'm successful, great. And if I'm why not and I fail, then I learned it. You know what I mean? It's even Thomas Edison.
Point at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole Thomas Edison thing, right? 99 ways to not make a light bulb, but the one, he did. You know what I mean? So
totally agree. Fail at the highest possible level.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I would build on that as well. I think one of the things I've discovered in my time at ITech has really been, a lot of time, teachers will schedule coaching time and I'll show up and I've got stuff ready to give them and materials and resources, and I show up. We end up spending an hour like playing around on Tinkercad. And I didn't know Tinkercad. And really what it is giving themselves a permission to spend a little time in unstructured play, which adults don't do enough of. So, technically they're like, working towards professional development, and they can call it instructional coaching, but we're sitting there like, oh my gosh, we made a teaching, look at that. And so, willingness to, yes, why not try and possibly fail, but also like play and work at something without an objective in mind, just literally play.
Very good.
That's a great one. I'll let Evelyn go last. I think just be fearless. Don't worry about it. I tell people now, I'm like, my degree is in English literature and I work for an IT company. It's like and when I got that, I swore I was never going to be a teacher, and then I taught, and then I swore I was never going to leave education. And I still haven't, but I swore I'd never leave the classroom, and I did. So, just learn. It kind of goes off of Trish's thing, right? Like, learn and have fun. The AI thing was just, how are we going to respond to this as a company? And then that gave me the legs to go in and start getting certifications and learning. And like I said, in the classroom, like I did a lot of VR stuff with my kids. I still, if you ask me to like put together some VR stuff, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So also, like, you surround yourself with people that do know, and ask kids to do it. And just, kind of, if you have a good idea, go with the good idea. Don't worry about whether you know how to do it or not. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll just close it by saying, a person who really wants to inspire empathy in students, I think one of the most beautiful kind of outcomes of ed tech and of even the work that we do, we see teachers like really developing projects and taking on new challenges because they're really excited about impacting their students and like seeing their empathy grow. And that's some of the deepest impacts that ed tech can make, that project-based learning can make. And really them taking this on is about like those deeper impacts they can have like on the trajectory of their students. And what a blessing that is. And that's why all of us are here today and got into the love of education, and even why we're all connected today on this topic. So it's really exciting.
That is.
I'm just gonna, yeah, we really appreciate your time. This has been, we could really go for a couple of hours easily. I think. We didn't ask anything, scary, tough, but man, we could have a lot of fun. Thank you so much, really.
And it really inspires me to realize that there's so many more things that I could be doing in my classroom. And I get frustrated sometimes because, the grading this and all the students. But when you lose that love of teaching, right, you've got to find that again. And I think that that's what you guys do, is you provide a love of teaching and learning. So thank you for that. Thanks for spending your time today.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.